to make a 7-point, very detailed sermon of my trip. It's just a summary of what happened. I pulled together some pictures for you guys and some information. I also have two guys that are very willing to have microphones. So if any time you have a question, just raise your hand and they will come around and you can ask whatever you like. And I hopefully will know the answer to the question. Alright, so I don't have the clicker. Can you, where's the clicker? Is it up here? Or do you have it back there, guys? Yeah. Alright, so I was on the musical missions team this summer, which for 25 years has been traveling to Europe with the Macaulays, and you'll see a picture of them soon. So this is the first year that it was independent from the university. I set up a Facebook page, and if you were following it and praying for me, I really, really appreciate that. And any support they give me, thank you so much. It's still up and running, so if you totally did not know about this and you wanted to see all the pictures and the stuff that was up there, please feel free and go find it and look it up. It's still open. This is my team. Sorry the picture is a little dark. It was the best we can do. For years, they've traveled actually up to the Matterhorn. We were in Switzerland right here, and you have the whole group picture with the Matterhorn behind you with like a St. Bernard. It's like professional, but it was raining and cloudy like the whole time we were there, and God allowed it to clear up temporarily for us to get this picture with just a regular camera that we had with us. And they did our best to make it as nice as we could. That is all 19 of us. That is it. There usually was like, I don't know, 30 people that would travel, but because it wasn't with the university this year, and it was really hard to get the word out and get it like advertised. So we had enough to pull together the choir, and that's what it is. It's a traveling choir that goes around Europe and spreads the gospel to people that I've never heard, and also mostly in churches, and I'll get to that later. Because it is a small choir, it did present that challenge. We all had to be very, very loud and all pull our part. But many of the churches were stone and had really amazing acoustics, so that was really a benefit to us. Let's see. I'm going to use this one over here. This right here is Joseph. Sorry, I'm shaking. He was the pastor on the team. He mostly did all the messages. This is Gideon, our translator, and he speaks Schweizerdeutsch, which is Swiss German, but he also can speak just German. And most of the time we did travel in Germany. Other countries that we visited, there was either the pastor who translated for Joseph, or they hired a translator to come and translate for us. And there's me, and Dr. Macaulay, who was our choir director, sorry, there we go, and his wife, Janie Macaulay, and there's the rest of us. And there they are. So wonderful, so sweet. Okay, I did not put up a picture of all of the music, but we did, I don't know, maybe 30 different plus arrangements, choir arrangements, and we learned all of them in a matter of months. Some of them learned them in a few days because they came later. This is all just German. That's all the German, because most of the time we were in Germany, or German-speaking countries, but we also sang, let's see, in 6 different languages, I believe, including English, Slovak, Polish, French, German, would they speak in Netherlands? Swedish? What is it?
Dutch.
Dutch, yeah, Dutch, and maybe one other one. Some of us did speak German. I speak kein Deutsch, which is no German, and so it was a challenge. But they gave you this music to use for the summer, and you can handwrite in any phonetic spelling that you needed to, which was me. Like every single word had to have a spelling so I could read it. The team, you could say it was more of a ministry team, actually, rather than a missions team. It wasn't so much that we personally were on the streets giving out tracts and telling the gospel one-on-one to lots and lots of people. Most of the time we were in churches that were already established, and it's kind of like having the Pettits of the Gulkins come, and it's our opportunity to go tell, hey, we're having special meetings, and will you come to church with me and bring a friend? That's more what we're doing. A choir's coming to Europe. There's not choirs in Europe, generally. There's ensembles and soloists and stuff, but to hear a choir is like a really, really special treat. So people would come that wouldn't ordinarily come, they got to hear the gospel. This is an invitation, and you can see that it's in German. This is the one from Heidelberg, Germany. And you can see the name of the church, and the date, and that is most of us. Because we were not with the university this year, some of the people that traveled with us were actually from like Massachusetts or Canada, people that had gone to the university before but now are done with school. And we asked, will you please come travel with us because we're short on people, and they did, but they weren't there for the group picture. So there was more of us in the group picture, but that's like the professional picture that we took before we left, so people would have something to show the people, like, these are the people that are coming to sing for you. The Euro Cup was a big deal while we were over there. How many of you watched the Euro Cup? 3 hands, really? Oh my goodness, like it was a really, really big deal. Like the youth from the church and the college students and the teenagers, they would all come out and like set up all these chairs, and we'd go to their house, and it was like a fellowship, and we'd all watch the Euro Cup, which is football or soccer. It was going on. Portugal won, right, Caleb? Portugal won? Yeah, Portugal won the Euro Cup. So that's a picture of all of us and the German flag. So this was when Germany was still in it, and they were all cheering for their team. There's me, right there. We also got to see missionaries, families. Do we support the Van Ryns? Okay, yeah, the Van Ryns have come here and speak. And they're missionaries to the Netherlands, or Holland, and whatever you would like to call it. So we went to their church and we sang for them, and that was their opportunity to invite people to have new contacts for their church. And that's not the whole family, as you've met them already. That's Theo and Sarah and the little girl. And it was really great for them as well as us to be able to talk with them, to encourage them, and they encouraged us likewise. We did do some sightseeing. I mean, that's a lot of what the pictures that you saw that was on Facebook. We didn't have Wi-Fi all the time, nor did we have like data. So to have Wi-Fi was also a special treat. So anything that was like our concerts or like ministry related, I guess you could say, really didn't get pictures taken of because I was doing it. Can't take pictures at the same time. But I could take pictures of what we saw. So we saw, I just put a few things up, not everything, we saw a lot. But this is Liechtenstein Castle, and back then, living conditions were harder, and they didn't have as much food or water, and it was cold, and it was harder to live, and so people were smaller back then. So often the doorways were just my size. I thought that was cool. And yeah, when we were in the Netherlands, we saw a real windmill, and it's still working. It grinds corn, and we got to go inside it, and it's all wood. So it was creepy at the same time because it's like the gears working. You can see it work from the inside, and the grain pour, and that was really cool to well, I didn't speak with the millman, but yeah, it was really cool. We saw many cathedrals. They're all over Europe, and they're stone, as well as castles. This is one of them that we saw. This is the one in France. It's not the Notre Dame, the famous one. we didn't get to see that one, but this is one that was near the church that we sang at. We did get to sing in this one, just like 2 or 3 of the ones that we had memorized. So that's a real privilege. Throughout Europe, the team, as we traveled and we stopped, we stayed in people's homes. Just like the Galkans come and some of you guys say, oh, that takes some team members, you take them home with them. Same thing. We did this almost at every single stop. Very few hotels, or they call them hostels over there. Very few of those, we mostly stayed in homes. And this was our opportunity to, talk with them and invest time with them. And I did get some pictures. This was just one family. I didn't put a lot. This is just an example. These were one of the families we stayed with in Germany. I heard while I was in Europe that my brother got saved, and so this is me FaceTiming my brother, and I'm like, we need a picture! And so everybody gathered around and we took a picture, and that was one of the highlights of my summer. And yes, we did get to see the Swiss Alps, and they are gorgeous. All the rumors are true. A picture cannot capture how gorgeous they are. This is me and Brittany Rutherford. She became one of my best friends on the team. And we went up to Gorner Grot. It's just like a lookout place where you can go and there's mountains all around you. And it's 3,089 meters high. That's about 2 miles high, I believe, if you're in the air. Me with the mountains behind me. So gorgeous. And it was really cool. I took a picture of this. Somebody made an Ebenezer. I think it's come down fount that we hear about, here I raise mine Ebenezer. And you're like, what is that? It's like, what is it, like landmark stone of help. And somebody made one up there. So I'm like, this is so cool. So I took a picture of that too. These are some of my team members. This is David and Elliot and Nathan, Chandler and Brittany, and of course me. You can see a little piece of the mountain behind us. When we went up there, it was very cloudy, so it was like a game trying to spot the mountains in between the clouds, which was unfortunate. There were so many clouds, but I love clouds. So it was the first time that I'm like, I don't really like clouds right now. You can't see the mountains, but they were really gorgeous. Being on a team was really good for me because I got to spend time, a lot of quality time with people my age, and got to develop that skill. There's not really people my age here at Anchor, so it was really, really good for me to build relationships with college students, and I learned a lot from them. They taught me a lot, and they were a real blessing to me. Me in the mountains. And I think that's the last picture I have, and I'll leave that up for you guys to look at. It's so pretty. Let's see. Okay, so the sightseeing ministry, it can look like, oh, we're just a bunch of college students just sightseeing and having fun, just blowing time while we're waiting to actually sing a new ministry. Where in reality, sightseeing was just as much as ministry as singing. Each church on our itinerary usually had a day of sightseeing already planned for us before we even showed up. It was their opportunity to show off what was really, really cool and interesting to them in their country to their American guests, which they don't get American guests very often, if ever, so it's kind of like a little bit of national pride for them. And it was also a chance for the youth, usually the teenagers and the college students, would come out and they would ride into the vans with us or ride in their own car, and then we'd get out and they would show us their city. And that was really cool for them, and they could talk with us, and most of them did speak English. Language is a really, really big deal over there. They take 4 semesters of French, all this German, all this English, like, there's a bigger push for it over there because languages is money. If you can't speak enough languages, you're not going to be able to get a job and stuff. So a lot of them could speak English and talk with us. Tracks. Now this was a big part of also sightseeing. Everybody was responsible to give tracks, and they all had a little track pack that said musical mission team on it. It had like mostly I think German language tracks, but there also was like mega pack tracks, which were like this thick. Maybe you guys use these for recipes, where it has like a elastic strap that goes around it. And what they use these for is to put 50 different languages of tracks. So you never knew who you were going to run into, so it's kind of like we're always ready to give an answer. Mesopotamia, Persian, Chinese, Arabic, it was in there. And I do know that we did use the Arabic because of the Muslims that have come over. And we did also have Chinese people. One of the team members is actually an MK to China, and he speaks Chinese fluently. So he got to witness to one Chinese lady in Germany for like 2 hours. So that was really cool. So we also sang on the streets. We had our uniforms that we wore. We all matched and looked very professional. Like we all had our matching polos and skirts. And all the songs that we sang were sacred, and they all presented the gospel or something about Jesus Christ. And a lot of it was either in German, the language of the country, or in English, which people do understand some English. So when the language was very challenging, like Polish or Slovak or French, God just provided a miracle for us every single time, because we would ask people afterwards, could you understand what we said? They're like, oh yeah, we thought you guys could speak fluently. And we're like, oh my word, like, because we were just trying to make it sound as close as we could, kind of a feel. We would like look at it once before we left the States, and then when we got there, we all sat in a big circle, and the missionary or the pastor there, who obviously speaks it fluently, would speak the words for us one by one, and then we would write in our music how we could remember how to say it, and then we sang it. So we already knew the notes, we just didn't know what to say. And each and every time, God made us so that people could understand us, which is a miracle. I did get to present the gospel once, myself. The flight from Charlotte to Munich, which is a 9.5-hour flight straight through. I was sitting, like, the emergency exit door is right here, kind of like halfway through the plane, and I had all this leg space. And then one of the guys on team that I was with was sitting next to me. So before the plane takes off, the flight attendant has to sit like in this pull-down seat and sit there and buckle up until the plane takes off. So I had a captive audience. And I spoke with her for a while, small talk, getting to know her. And I think I asked her, like, do you go to church or something? And I believe that she was Catholic. So this was from Charlotte to Munich, so this was at the beginning of summer, so I'm a little fuzzy on the details. But I think she was Catholic. And because I didn't have time to tell her everything at that point, nor did I have my Bible or any tracks, since we hadn't opened the different languages of tracks yet, they hadn't given them to us yet, I was just going on cold turkey of what I knew. And my Bible was up in the little storage compartment thing. So I asked her, like, well, maybe you can come get me later in the flight if you're still interested. And I didn't really expect her to, but she did. And she's like, I have a break right now. I have like 15 minutes. Will you come show me what you were talking about? And she couldn't speak English or understand it super well. So I had like 3 flight attendants all back there trying to translate, and like one didn't understand it, and there was like one word they get caught on a word, and I tried to put it a different way, and they were all talking about it. So we had like a 4-way conversation about the Romans Road. So that was really cool, and I felt like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to talk to someone who speaks German, and I know none, but. I wrote out some references for her, like a few sentences of the gospel, and gave it to her. So I did my best. That's all Jesus expects. Also, in Heidelberg, Germany, they have a Christian school there, and I gave my testimony there. Now, the children, even though they can understand some English, German is their first language. And so we have our translator, Gideon Villiger, who was on the team that I pointed out in the picture. We had to go through each sentence that I had to write it out, and then he would have to think about how he would translate it, and then I couldn't go off the script in a way. And it wasn't my salvation testimony, but more of what made me decide to follow Christ wholeheartedly for myself instead of just doing it because my parents have done it. So it's a Christian school, so it's K-5 all the way through high school, I believe. So there was people my age or much younger, but they got to hear from somebody their age instead of their grandfather or their parents. In Europe, in general, I don't know how specific this is to each country, but they don't really emphasize childhood conversion. They think maybe they didn't quite understand it, and they're like, oh, I don't know about this. We know that's totally biblical, but they're sometimes a little hesitant about it. So if any of the team members want to give a testimony, but they got saved as a child, they said it's best that we not say when you were saved. So I got saved when I was 11, so my salvation testimony was never told over there, which is fine. But other testimonies, such as what made you decide to follow Christ, was given. The MK to China, Jesse Anderson, did give his salvation testimony almost at every single concert that we had. Throughout the trip, they encouraged us, and I thought it was a really good idea too, to keep a journal. And it wasn't required, but I really liked it. And not every single day is filled out, but most of them are. And at the end of the trip, they wanted everybody, you had to give a testimony of what the Lord had done, how God views me, or how it ought to be, which is really good. It was encouraging to visit missionaries. There was an old wooden Protestant church over in Slovakia, I believe. A long time ago, 200 years ago, Protestant churches were not allowed to build churches out of stone because they would last longer, and they were being persecuted. But yet, the wooden church still stands, and you can still see it's painted inside. They didn't let the fact that it was wood keep them from painting it with all the angels, and it's just gorgeous in there, and it's all wood, so it did have pretty decent acoustics. Just the fact that it still stands is, God's word will not return void. He protects his church. And that was really encouraging to see. It was a blessing to have peers to pray with consistently. Before every single concert, we all prayed together. We all gathered in one room, and we prayed just as the Spirit led, and we prayed for maybe 20 minutes straight. Before every single concert, for the translator, for Joseph, for each other, for God to work at the concert, for us to be able to speak, sing the language well, whatever God wanted us to, whatever we prayed for, it was just really, really cool. Because at school, we're so busy, we don't really have time. We don't take the time to do that. So I really enjoyed that. Having peers that were really encouraging, They help me see the world through different eyes. A few of them always can make me laugh. Some of them help me refocus, relax, and realize that it's okay. Through the trip, I developed a greater appreciation for classical and sacred music. So just my view of life, of how things aren't changed for the better, I believe. A lot of the time, we traveled in cars. Once we got there, we rented 3 vans, and we drove everywhere. And sometimes we had a lot of car time. A lot of people slept, some people talked, but there was a devotional schedule. I did not bring that with me, though. Actually, I did, but anyways. The preacher, Joseph, made a schedule for us, and it was every single day of team had a passage and the subject of what was in the passage. And in the vans, there was 3 people that were the devoters. And you had to basically give a Sunday school lesson to the whole van about that passage. So you had to study it and read it and discuss it and stuff. And it was really good accountability. And he didn't pick just, the Psalms. He went for Hebrews and Romans and stuff and Acts. And I really had to study. And that was really good for me. And that is all I have. So, if you have any questions at all, please raise your hand. I'd love to answer your questions. He's coming, patience.
When you were passing out the tracts, what was the basic response of people toward the receiver of the tracts?
They took them willingly, and it was kind of like, oh, what's this? It's in my language, kind of a response. And everybody was a little different. It's generally like once we finished singing in the streets, then we'd kind of like all spread out, and we'd all have tracts or invitations, and then we'd be like, für Sie, which is for you, formal, in Deutsch, and so they'd be like, oh, danke, and we say bitte, and it was a pleasant thing because we're Americans. So just to have an American give you something is kind of like, ooh, that's different too. It's not just everyday occurrence.
Well, another question, by any chance, did you visit with in the Tübingen area, the Matthias?
Yes, we went to Camp Impact, and I got to speak with Mr. Matthias.
Okay.
And the Knackles. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because Mayor and I supported them for a while there, the commissioners in Germany.
Mr. Prince has a question, David.
We seem to be told that everybody outside the United States and a lot of people within the United States hate us because we're American. Did you find that there was a regard for you amongst the people your age that you met over there because you were American?
Regard, you mean like respect?
Did they like you, or did they attack you verbally in some ways, trying to criticize you for what our people over here tell us that we're guilty of?
Mm-mm.
They were affectionate, more or less.
Most of the people we saw that we spent time with were people from the churches. So they were mostly Christians, and they were just very godly and sweet, and they wanted to talk to us. Some of them were just mature beyond their years. It was really great to spend time with them. There was one family that I was visiting with that was hosting one of the guys on the team, and we were talking about the differences between perspectives in Europe and in America, and it was interesting to compare the two. It's interesting enough that what we think about them, they think about us. I wish I could give you exact examples, but kind of what we think, oh, they think this, and it's like, oh, we thought you thought that, So there's a lot of similarities.
Yes, I don't need one.
Well, it might be good so everybody can hear.
Can you sing something for us in German?
I don't have any of my German music because we gave it away. back to the director, because the music belonged to them. I might be drawing a blank. If I had the music in front of me, that might help.
Hey, we wouldn't know any difference.
If I can think of something, I will. I have no problem with that. Anything else?
I just got a question about, I mean, you traveled around and you've seen all this stuff. What did you think about eating the food and the culture?
It was wonderful. The food is great. German bread is it's really, really good. And of course, French bread is really good. We went to a French bakery and we got fresh bread one time, and we got the subs and French pastries. The pastor hosted us and paid for us to go, so that was a real privilege. The culture, I really appreciated especially the Germans' emphasis on quality. German windows are better. They're just very clean. The style, the architecture of the homes are very open. The installation and the walls are good, so when it's hot outside in the winter, it's cool inside. And you might think, is there air conditioning? But there's no air conditioning in Europe, generally. There's no ice. You drink without ice. So just their engineering is very good. What else? This is kind of a weird thing, but I'm going to say it anyways. As we traveled around and we stopped at different gas stations, they have a company called Santa Fe that does their restrooms, and they have toilets that clean themselves. Not kidding, we had the best, cleanest restrooms ever. It's really cool. This thing comes out of the seat and spins the seat itself, and it cleans it every single person, which I thought was really cool. But you have to pay. You also have to pay to use the restroom in Europe. It's usually 50 cents a time, so. That was different and better. What else? They don't have many speed limits, which can be good when you're trying to get somewhere, because you go on the Autobahn, and there are speed limits, but there are certain parts on the interstate where you can go as fast as you need to. Now, we did have a limit on how fast we had to go, because, we want to be careful and we're on a mission and stuff, but yeah, that was cool. That's all I can think of at the moment. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. One last one. Maybe last.
Did you add any time to your homesick, or you were too busy to think about it?
I was too busy to think about it. I wasn't really homesick. When I heard that my brother got saved, though, that was when I was like, I just want to go home so I can see him and give him a big hug. But I think that was it wasn't until then I wanted to go home because of my brother. Thank you so much for listening.